Easy. Slow down. Yeah, that pause right there. That's the sound of a room realizing it miscalculated you. You feel it, don't you? That shift. That moment where the air tightens and nobody knows why their chest just locked up. They're smiling, but their eyes are doing math they didn't expect to fail. Because you weren't supposed to do this. You weren't supposed to become that. You were supposed to stay readable, predictable, contained. You were supposed to react the way they rehearsed in their heads. You were supposed to break loudly or heal quietly. You were supposed to fit into one of their little boxes labeled safe or damaged, and instead, you went silent, sharper, calmer, stranger. That's when it hit them. Not fear at first, confusion, the kind that crawls up the spine before panic wakes up. They watched you walk through the fire without screaming, and something ancient inside them whispered, "That's not normal." They've seen rage before. They've seen tears. They've seen collapse. They've seen villains and saints and martyrs and monsters. But they have never seen someone who learned to smile at the chaos without needing to explain it. See, they were prepared for your darkness. That's the funny part. They were ready for you to become bitter, loud, sloppy, self-destructive. Darkness is familiar to them when it's messy. They know how to point at it, shame it, label it, neutralize it. What they weren't ready for was your control. They weren't ready for the way you stopped flinching, the way your reactions slowed down, the way your eyes stopped asking for permission. That's when the room changed. That's when conversations about you started happening without you. That's when your name began carrying weight instead of noise. Because unpredictability isn't chaos. It's power when it's disciplined. And you didn't just become unpredictable. You became unreadable. You see, anyone can be loud. Anyone can be aggressive. Anyone can threaten. That's easy. That's primitive. That's expected. But you learned when to stay soft, when to stay kind, when to stay quiet, and when to not be. That duality, that's what rattled them. The way you could still be compassionate and terrifying in the same breath. The way you didn't need to announce your strength. The way you didn't need to prove anything anymore. That's when they realized they weren't dealing with a wounded animal. They were dealing with something that adapted. They wanted you broken into one identity. Victim or villain, angel or demon, weak or dangerous. Something simple they could explain away. But you became the paradox. You became the one who could walk into a room with light in your voice and violence in your potential, and never show either, unless necessary. That's not instability. That's evolution. That's what happens when pain doesn't rot you. It refines you, and that scared them. Because now they don't know which version of you they're getting. The forgiving one, the silent one, the one who walks away, the one who remembers everything, the one who doesn't need revenge because life already trained you better than any enemy ever could. They don't know. And that not knowing is eating them alive. You see it in the hesitation, in the over-politeness, in the sudden respect that feels a little too late, in the way they test the waters before speaking to you now, in the way jokes stop halfway, in the way nobody pushes you the same way anymore. They felt it the moment they realized you're not reacting from emotion anymore. You're choosing, calculating, observing. That's when fear replaces dominance. Because the most dangerous person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who learned how to survive every version of hell without losing their humanity or their edge. It's the one who can still care, but no longer needs approval. It's the one who understands both mercy and consequence and knows exactly when to apply each. They didn't expect you to integrate the pain. They expected it to consume you. They didn't expect you to carry both the wound and the weapon with the same steady hand. That's why they're unsettled. That's why their reactions changed. That's why their behavior around you feels cautious now. Because deep down, they know something shifted permanently. Not loudly, not dramatically, but irreversibly. You crossed a threshold they can't see but can feel. A place where fear no longer controls your decisions. A place where you don't need to dominate because you already command presence. A place where you don't chase validation because you've outgrown the need to be understood. And the wild part? You didn't do it to scare them. You did it to survive. But survival done this cleanly. That terrifies people who never had to earn their depth. So let them stare. Let them overthink. Let them whisper. Let them try to figure out which side of you they're dealing with today. Because the truth is, you're not here to be categorized anymore. You're here as proof that pain doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it sharpens. Sometimes it awakens. Sometimes it forges something that doesn't need to roar to be felt. They've never reacted like this before because they've never seen someone become this without losing themselves. And now they know. They were never supposed to scare you. And here's the part they really don't know how to process. The fact that you're still standing there like nothing happened. Like the storm already passed through you and decided it didn't want you anymore. You're not chasing reactions. You're not explaining yourself. You're not defending your evolution. You're just existing differently. And that quiet shift, that's what keeps replaying in their heads at night. Because they remember the old version of you. The one who tried to make sense. The one who asked questions. The one who wanted clarity, fairness, reassurance. The one who thought honesty would be enough to protect you. They remember how easy it was to predict you back then. Push this button, get that response. Say this line, trigger that emotion. That version of you made them comfortable. This version, this one makes them uneasy. Because this one doesn't react on cue. This one doesn't rush to fill silence. This one doesn't panic when misunderstood. This one watches, measures, decides. And when you finally speak now, your words land heavier because you don't waste them. They felt it the first time you didn't respond the way they expected. The first time you didn't flinch. The first time you smiled at something that should have broken you. That's when their confidence cracked, not outwardly, but internally. Because suddenly their script stopped working. See, people rely on patterns to feel powerful. They rely on predictability to feel in control. And you used to be part of their pattern. Not because you were weak, but because you were open. And openness, in a world that studies leverage, gets mistaken for vulnerability. But pain taught you something precision never could. Pain taught you restraint. Pain taught you timing. Pain taught you how to keep your heart intact without leaving it exposed. That's not coldness. That's mastery. And mastery is terrifying to people who only know force. They don't know whether to approach you with kindness or caution now. They don't know if you're forgiving or finished. They don't know if you've moved on or if you've simply moved above. And that ambiguity, that unresolved question mark you carry with you, that's what keeps them off balance. You became the kind of person who doesn't need to announce boundaries because your presence enforces them. The kind of person who doesn't need revenge because you no longer orbit the people who wronged you. The kind of person who can still feel deeply without being ruled by those feelings. That's the paradox they can't decode. How can someone be softer and harder at the same time? How can someone be calm and dangerous? How can someone carry light without losing their edge? They were prepared for you to choose a side. to become all shadow or all innocence. They were ready to either fear you openly or pity you quietly. What they weren't ready for was balance. Balance breaks their mental model, because balanced people can't be manipulated easily. Balanced people don't overreact. Balanced people don't chase closure from those who caused the wound. Balanced people don't need to win arguments to feel whole. Balanced people just move differently. And now every interaction with you feels like stepping onto unfamiliar terrain. They're second-guessing their tone, replaying conversations, wondering if they crossed a line, or if you simply noticed something you didn't bother calling out. You didn't become louder. You became precise. You didn't become cruel. You became selective. You didn't lose your heart. You learned how to guard it without turning it to stone. That's why their reactions changed so drastically, because they're realizing too late that the power dynamic flipped the moment you stopped needing them to understand you. See, fear doesn't always show up as shaking hands or raised voices. Sometimes fear shows up as politeness, as distance, as sudden respect, as people choosing their words more carefully around you, as invitations that feel different, as silence where there used to be control. They're not afraid of what you'll do. They're afraid of what you won't. They're afraid you won't react, you won't chase, you won't explain, you won't beg. Because someone who doesn't need emotional leverage can't be cornered. And deep down, they know this version of you didn't come from confidence seminars or motivational quotes. It came from nights where you had to choose whether to let pain turn you bitter or better. It came from moments where nobody clapped, nobody validated, nobody rescued you. It came from surviving your own thoughts long enough to refine them. That's why this isn't something they can imitate. They didn't earn it, so let them watch, let them wonder. Let them feel unsettled by the fact that you're still kind, but no longer naive, still calm, but no longer compliant, still human, but no longer easy to handle. You were never supposed to scare them, but growth has a way of intimidating people who were invested in your limits. And the truth is, you didn't change to be feared. You changed because staying the same would have destroyed you. And that kind of evolution doesn't ask for permission, and the longer they sit with it, the worse it gets for them. Because the more distance you put between who you were and who you are now, the clearer the contrast becomes. They start replaying moments they brushed off, things you noticed but never reacted to, disrespect you absorbed quietly, lines they crossed because they assumed you'd always bend. Now those memories hit differently. Now they're wondering which of those moments you logged. Which ones changed something inside you? Which ones taught you exactly how people operate when they think you're harmless? You see, you didn't wake up one day transformed. This wasn't a costume change. This wasn't a phase. This was pressure over time. This was endurance. This was adaptation. This was you learning how to exist in hostile environments without announcing your defenses. That's what unnerves them the most, how natural it looks on you now. You're not tense. You're not guarded in an obvious way. You're not aggressive. You're relaxed. And relaxed people with depth are dangerous to fragile power structures. Because you're no longer operating from fear of loss. You already lost what mattered. You already survived the worst-case scenario they used to hold over your head. That leverage is gone. They feel it every time they try to provoke you and get nothing back but calm eye contact. Every time they expect an emotional reaction and get silence. Every time they assume you'll explain yourself and you simply don't. Silence isn't emptiness anymore. Silence is choice, and choice is what they never expected you to reclaim. You used to give people access to your inner world quickly. You used to let words affect you deeply. You used to bleed honesty in rooms that studied weakness like a sport. But pain reorganized your priorities. It taught you discernment. It taught you that not everyone deserves to see the full version of you, and that withholding doesn't make you fake. It makes you strategic. That's when the saint and the psychopath fused into something they don't have a name for. Because saints forgive endlessly. Psychopaths detach completely. But you learned when to forgive and when to walk away permanently. You learned when to stay soft and when to go cold without cruelty. You learned when empathy is strength and when it's a liability. That's not madness. That's intelligence sharpened by experience. They sense it when they talk to you now. That slight hesitation before they speak. That micro-adjustment in their tone. That instinct telling them you're no longer someone they can dominate emotionally. They don't know if you'll respond with warmth or distance, and that uncertainty keeps them in check. People fear what they can't read, and you became fluent in camouflage, not because you wanted to deceive, but because transparency was costing you too much. Because being fully open in a world that weaponizes vulnerability taught you the price of innocence. And instead of letting that lesson harden you into bitterness, you refined it into composure. That's the part that rewires the room. You didn't become cruel. You became accurate. You stopped giving energy to people who feed on reactions. You stopped trying to correct narratives that benefit from misunderstanding you. You stopped needing to be seen correctly by those who never intended to see you fairly in the first place. That's why their reactions look like fear now, because they're realizing you're no longer participating in the game they designed. And the thing about stepping outside someone else's game, they lose all control. They can't provoke you into proving anything. They can't bait you into defending yourself. They can't shame you into shrinking. Because you already faced the part of yourself they hoped would break. You integrated it. You made peace with your shadow instead of running from it. You acknowledged the rage without letting it drive. You accepted the darkness without letting it rot your soul. You learned that being dangerous doesn't mean being destructive. It means knowing your capacity and choosing restraint. That's why your presence feels heavier now. Not loud, not dramatic. Heavy, like gravity. Like something that doesn't need permission to exist. They were never prepared for that version of you. They were prepared for noise. They were prepared for chaos. They were prepared for collapse. They were not prepared for stillness, backed by resolve. And that stillness? It's louder than any outburst you ever could have had. It forces people to confront their own intentions. It reflects their behavior back at them without you saying a word. It exposes insecurity in those who rely on dominance to feel relevant. That's why they're uncomfortable. Because when you stopped reacting, you stopped feeding their sense of control. And now all that's left is them, alone with their assumptions, their projections, their fear of what you might have become without their approval. You didn't rise to intimidate. You rose to survive with integrity. And now, whether you intended it or not, your evolution has become a mirror they can't avoid looking into. They see what happens when someone endures and learns. They see what happens when pain doesn't turn into poison. They see what happens when someone stops needing to be chosen and starts choosing themselves. And that realization, it doesn't just scare them, it destabilizes them. Because you are living proof that control isn't loud, dominance isn't aggressive, and strength doesn't beg to be recognized. You are proof that the most unsettling transformation isn't becoming something monstrous. It's becoming complete. And they can feel it every time you walk away without resentment. Every time you speak without splaining. Every time you remain kind without being accessible. Every time you choose peace without surrendering your power. They don't know how to respond to that. So they hesitate, they observe, they adjust. And you keep moving, not to intimidate, not to threaten, but because you finally understand something they never expected you to learn. That the scariest thing you can become is someone who no longer needs their permission to exist as you are. And here's where it settles, quietly, finally. You don't need to finish the story for them. You don't need to explain the change. You don't need to soften it so they feel safe again. That era is over. The moment you learned how to hold your power without advertising it, the rules shifted, and you felt it lock into place. They'll keep guessing, they'll keep projecting, they'll keep wondering which version of you they're facing. But you already know the truth. You're not here to scare anyone. You're not here to prove anything. You're not here to be understood on demand. You're here because you survived what was meant to reduce you, and instead, you integrated it. You became someone who can stand in the light without denying the dark. Someone who can choose restraint without losing edge. Someone who can walk away without fear. Because you no longer need permission to be whole. That's why the room reacts differently now. That's why the energy shifts when you arrive. That's why silence follows you like respect disguised as caution. Not because you threatened them, not because you tried to dominate, but because they finally realized you're no longer someone they can predict, control, or define. And that realization, that's on them. You just kept moving forward. Freeze. Yeah, right there. Because if you move even an inch, you'll miss the part where reality finally confesses what it did to you. I'm sick to my stomach. Not because I'm fragile, not because I'm empathetic, but because what happened to you was so purely evil, it shouldn't even be legal for the human brain to remember it without cracking in half. And the worst part, the world saw it, the world felt it, the world knew something was wrong, and they still walked past you, like your pain was background noise. They didn't just hurt you. They didn't just betray you. They didn't just abandon you. They performed it. Like a ritual. Like a sport. Like it was fun to see what would happen if they took something pure and dragged it through the sewer until it started believing it belonged there. And you know what makes me laugh? Not the funny kind. The sick kind. They thought they were breaking you. They thought if they pushed you far enough, you'd collapse into dust and finally become what they wanted you to be. Quiet, small, harmless, forgettable. But you didn't collapse. You mutated. You became the kind of person that makes other people's souls feel unsafe. And they're not ready for that. They're not ready for what you are now. They're not ready for what you had to become just to keep breathing in a world that was trying to suffocate you with a smile. Because what happened to you didn't happen to teach you a lesson. It happened because evil gets hungry. And when evil gets hungry, it doesn't go for the strong first. It goes for the ones with light. The ones who still try. The ones who still care. The ones who still believe people can be decent. It hunts innocence like a predator hunts movement. And you walked around with your light exposed like it was a crown. So they targeted you. Not because you were weak, because you were a threat without even trying to be. You ever notice that? How the most damaged people weren't born violent. They were educated by cruelty. How the sweetest soul becomes the coldest weapon once it realizes mercy gets punished. How the most loyal person turns into the most dangerous person the moment loyalty becomes a joke. That's your paradox. You're not just light. You're not just dark. You're the collision. You're the saint that got forced into learning psychopath rules. You're the angel who memorized demon language just to survive the cage. You're the soft heart with a sharpened mind. You're the prayer that learned how to bite. And they did that. They made you this. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud. They love to call you changed, like it's your fault. They love to call you different, like you woke up one day and decided to become terrifying. No, you didn't choose this. You were manufactured, piece by piece, betrayal by betrayal, humiliation by humiliation, silence by silence. They carved your evolution into your nervous system like a signature, and now you walk around with two versions of yourself living behind your eyes. One that remembers what it was like to be good, and one that remembers what it cost. That second one, that one is unholy. That one doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't plead, doesn't explain. That one watches and smiles. Because here's the truth that makes people uncomfortable. You didn't heal into something softer. You healed into something smarter. You didn't become nicer. You became clearer. You didn't become more loving. You became more selective. You didn't become more open. You became unreadable. And when someone becomes unreadable, the world starts panicking, because control requires prediction. And you're unpredictable now. You used to be consistent. You used to be easy to understand. You used to love in a straight line. Now you love like a locked vault. Only the worthy get the code. Now you speak like a loaded gun, calm, quiet, and final. Now you move like a ghost in a room full of mirrors. Because evil taught you the one skill that makes you ungovernable. You learned how to disappear emotionally. They can't hit you the same way anymore. They can't shame you the same way anymore. They can't manipulate you the same way anymore. Because the part of you they used to grab onto is gone. And the funniest part, they miss it. They miss the version of you that would explain yourself. The version of you that would forgive too fast. The version of you that would question your own instincts just to keep peace. They miss the version of you they could damage and still keep around. Now they're standing in front of you, staring at your face like it's familiar. But it's not welcoming anymore. It's not soft anymore. It's not available anymore. It's not safe anymore. Because when you've seen real evil, not movie evil, not cartoon evil, but the kind of evil that smiles while it destroys you, you stop being impressed by people's masks. You start recognizing patterns like a bloodhound. You can smell lies before they're even spoken. You can feel intent before it has words. You can sense danger in the way silence sits in a room. And that's when people start calling you crazy. No, sweetheart, you're not crazy. You're calibrated. Your pain tuned you like an instrument. You became a frequency. And the ones who tried to ruin you, they feel that frequency now. It's why they get nervous around you even when you're being polite. It's why they can't look you in the eye for too long. It's why they feel exposed when you're quiet. Because your quiet isn't empty anymore. Your quiet has teeth. And I know you've had nights where you wanted to vomit from the memories. Nights where your body remembered things your mouth couldn't even say. Nights where your chest felt like a coffin. and you were trapped inside it, listening to your own heartbeat like it was a countdown. I know you've had moments where you hated how much you still cared, where you hated that you still had empathy in a world that rewarded cruelty, where you felt disgusting for still being soft after everything. And you know what? That's exactly why what happened to you was evil. Because evil doesn't just hurt you. It tries to make you hate yourself for surviving it. It tries to make you feel guilty for changing. It tries to convince you that becoming colder is becoming worse. But colder isn't worse. Colder is cleaner. Colder is clarity. Colder is what happens when you stop bleeding for people who sip your blood like it's champagne. You didn't become evil. You became resistant. You became the kind of person who no longer confuses kindness with access. Because the old you thought love meant giving people chances. The new you understands something darker. Some people don't deserve chances. They deserve distance. And distance is power. Distance is the line between they broke you and they can't reach you. Because I want you to understand something about what you carry now. Your trauma isn't just pain. It's authority. It's proof you've stared at human darkness and didn't become it. You learned how it works. You learned the machinery. You learned the tricks. You learned the bait. You learned the timing. You learned the scripts. You understand the predator's language. Which means you can see the moment someone tries to play a game with you before the game even starts. And that makes you horrifying. Not because you're violent, because you're awake. And waking up is the most dangerous thing a person can do in a world built on keeping people asleep. That's why they don't want you healed, not truly. They want you okay enough to keep participating, but not powerful enough to start refusing. Because the moment you start refusing disrespect, refusing crumbs, refusing manipulation, refusing guilt, refusing chaos, you become an issue. You become a glitch. You become that one person the system can't digest. And you know what happens when a system can't digest someone? It tries to vomit them out. It tries to shame them out. It tries to isolate them out. It tries to label them out. It tries to break them socially because it couldn't break them privately. But you were built in private. You were forged in the dark. While everyone else was playing normal, you were learning how to live with a war inside your skull and still smile like you weren't choking. That's why your presence feels heavier now, because you don't just walk into rooms. You arrive with invisible history, and people can feel it. They don't know what it is, but they feel it. It's like the air changes, like the temperature shifts, like the ancient just entered the room and decided to observe instead of perform. And that's what you are now. You're not performing anymore. You're not auditioning for love anymore. You're not begging to be understood anymore. You're observing, calculating, watching who flinches when you stop explaining, watching who panics when you stop chasing, watching who acts different when they realize you're no longer desperate for approval. Because that's the twist, isn't it? The moment you stop needing anything from them, they start needing something from you. Your attention, your reaction, your forgiveness, your softness, your energy. But you don't hand it out anymore. You ration it like medicine, because you remember how it felt when people treated your heart like a free trial, and you promised yourself you'd never go back. Now, here's the part that's going to hit you in the spine. What happened to you was evil, yes. But it also revealed something terrifying. You can survive anything, not because you're immortal, but because your soul learned how to adapt faster than pain could finish you. That's evolution. That's what separates you from them. Most people, when they get hurt, they become bitter and predictable. They become one-dimensional. They become caricature of their trauma. But you became layered. You became complex. You became a contradiction. And contradiction is power, because it makes you impossible to read. You can be gentle and ruthless. You can be loving and detached. You can be warm and unreachable. You can smile while you're mentally leaving the room. That scares people, because they can't control what they can't categorize. They can't manipulate what they can't label. They can't trap what they can't understand. That's why the same people who called you weak before now whisper about you like you're a storm, because you stopped being reactive. You stopped being emotional bait. You stopped being an open door, and you became a locked room with cameras. And if you want to know what your real power is now, it's not anger. It's not revenge. It's not violence. It's not even confidence. Your real power is this. You know how to live without closure. Most people need closure to move on. They need apologies. They need explanations. They need justice delivered like a neat little bow. But you kept going without any of it. You kept breathing without them admitting what they did. You kept growing without them validating your pain. You kept moving without anyone holding your hand. You built a whole new self in the ruins. And that is terrifying, because it means you don't need them to fix what they broke. You already did. And the evil part, they expected you to stay broken. They expected you to become a cautionary tale. They expected you to fade. But you didn't fade. You became sharper. You became quieter. You became more lethal with your silence than you ever were with your words. And now, people don't know what to do with you, because they can't punish you the old way. You don't respond to guilt the same. You don't respond to fear the same. You don't respond to shame the same. You look at threats like they're comedy specials. And you look at manipulation like it's a toddler trying to pick a lock with a spoon. That's what pain did. It made you immune to cheap tactics. It turned your emotions into something sacred and guarded. It made your attention priceless. And now your presence is the kind of presence that makes liars sweat, because you don't argue with lies anymore. You don't debate disrespect anymore. You don't negotiate your worth anymore. You simply remove access. And that is the cleanest revenge on earth. To be unreachable, to be untouchable, to become so internally aligned that nobody can throw you off your axis. That's what they created when they tried to destroy you. They created a being that doesn't need permission to become powerful. A being that doesn't need applause to be dangerous. A being that doesn't need love to survive, because it learned how to generate fire from its own wounds. So, yeah, I'm sick to my stomach thinking about what they did to you, because you didn't deserve it. You didn't deserve that level of cruelty. You didn't deserve the way they smiled while they cut you. You didn't deserve to learn darkness like it was a second language. But now that you know it, now that you've seen it, now that you've survived it, you're not the prey anymore. You're not the innocent little light in the forest. You're the thing the forest listens to now, because you're not just healed. You're initiated. And the next time someone tries to test you, the next time someone tries to play with your heart like it's a toy, the next time someone tries to provoke the old you out of you, they're going to meet the version of you that was born in that evil. The one that doesn't cry first. The one that doesn't explain. The one that doesn't beg. The one that looks at betrayal and thinks, cute. The one that can love deeply and still walk away like it meant nothing. That version of you is not a villain. It's a guardian. It's the monster your innocence built to protect itself. And you know what the world isn't ready for? They're not ready for you to stop seeing yourself as broken. They're not ready for you to stop apologizing for being intense. They're not ready for you to realize that your darkness isn't corruption. It's clarity with a blade. Because when you finally accept both sides of yourself, when you stop trying to be only angel, only saint, only pure, and you integrate the demon, the predator, the weapon, that's when you become whole. And a whole person is the most uncontrollable force in existence. So don't you dare let what happened to you turn into a shame tattoo. Turn it into a crown. Turn it into a warning. Turn it into a silent aura that tells the world, I know what evil looks like. I've met it. I've survived it. And if you bring it near me again, I won't break. I won't beg. I won't bleed for free. I'll simply become the lesson, because you don't just walk away anymore. You vanish. Not like some dramatic exit either. Not like you slam doors. Not like you announce it. You just go quiet. And that quiet is what terrifies people. Because they remember the old you, the one who would text back fast, the one who would explain your feelings like a TED Talk, the one who would try to fix it even when you didn't break it. You used to be predictable. You used to be easy to pull, easy to trigger, easy to guilt. All they had to do was act cold for a second, post something weird, say something slick, hold back affection just enough, and you'd fold, you'd chase, you'd overthink, you'd blame yourself. You'd sit there like, did I do something wrong? You were basically handing them the remote to your nervous system, and you didn't even realize it, because you thought caring was proof you were real. You thought giving people access meant you were strong. You thought being understanding meant you were safe. And then you met evil, not the bad day evil, not the he's just immature evil, that grown, calculated evil, the kind that watches you smile and thinks, I can use that. The kind that hears your loyalty and thinks, I can exploit that. The kind that sees your softness and thinks, I can break that for fun. It's disgusting. It makes your skin crawl when you replay it, like your body wants to reject the memory. And you keep thinking, why would someone do that? And that's the difference between you and them. You still ask, why? They never did. They didn't hurt you because you deserved it. They hurt you because they could, because they were bored, because they were empty, because you were bright and they were addicted to dimming things. That's it. That's the whole horror movie. And you know what's wild? You tried to stay kind through it. You tried to stay good. You tried to be the bigger person. You tried to forgive. You tried to see the best in them. You tried to find the little human in the monster. You were out here giving grace like it was unlimited. And it cost you. It cost you sleep. It cost you peace. It cost you innocence. It cost you the version of you that used to laugh without checking your back first. There's a specific type of tired that comes after that. Not I need a nap, tired. That soul tired. The kind where your eyes look normal, but inside you're like, I'm done. I'm actually done. And nobody sees it. That's the part that makes me sick. People think pain has to be loud to be real. They think if you're not crying on the floor, you're fine. You weren't fine. You were just functioning. You were living on autopilot, smiling in public, breaking in private, doing that thing where you laugh at jokes, then go home and stare at the ceiling like it owes you answers. And it's crazy, because you can pinpoint the exact moment something in you changed. That one night, that one message, that one look, that one betrayal, that moment when you realized, oh, they're not confused, they're not misunderstanding, they're not messing up, they're choosing it, they're choosing to hurt you. And after you realize that, the world never looks the same again, because you start seeing it everywhere. You start noticing how some people only show love when it benefits them, how some people only respect you when you're useful, how some people only care when you're quiet enough to control. You start noticing the patterns, the fake checking in, the I miss you with no accountability behind it, the apologies that sound like excuses, the compliments that feel like traps. You start noticing how certain people get uncomfortable when you stop oversharing. They want the old version of you back, the version that leaks their whole soul in one conversation, the version that says too much, the version that gives away the map to their heart. Because that version was easier to play, that version was a target, and the new you is a locked screen. Face ID, no passcode, no access. You don't vent to people who haven't earned it. You don't explain yourself to people who twist it. You don't hand your truth to someone who uses it like ammo. You learned, and I love how they act shocked about it. They'll be like, wow, you're so distant. No, you're just not available for nonsense. They'll be like, you've changed. Yeah, that's the point. They'll be like, you're cold. You're not cold. You're careful. You're not mean. You're precise. They're just mad you stopped bleeding in front of them because your pain used to entertain them. That's the part nobody wants to admit. Some people liked you best when you were struggling, when you were doubting yourself, when you were begging for clarity, when you were easy to push around. Your chaos made them feel bigger. Your confusion made them feel smarter. Your forgiveness made them feel invincible. And it's creepy because once you start healing, you can feel the energy shift. Suddenly the jokes hit different. Suddenly the advice feels like shade. Suddenly the vibe turns weird. They start moving funny. Like your growth is an insult. Like your glow-up is disrespectful. Like your peace is personal. It's because you're not feeding the old dynamic anymore. You're not playing the role they assigned you. You're not the one who always texts first. You're not the one who always keeps the peace. You're not the one who always forgives. You're not the one who always says, it's okay. It wasn't okay. It was evil. It was deliberate. It was intimate, too. That's what makes it worse. Strangers can hurt you, sure. That stings. But when someone close does it, someone you trusted, someone you defended, someone you loved, that hits like a betrayal inside your own bones. It feels personal because it is personal. And you still stayed. You still tried. You still gave them chances. You still wanted to believe they were better than that. That's what makes your story so brutal. You were pure in a world that rewards predators. You were loyal in a world that treats loyalty like weakness. You were honest in a world that uses honesty like a cheat code. You were the kind of person people pray for, then destroy when they get. And after that type of evil, something in you gets quiet forever. Ya'dil laugh, Ya'dil smile, Ya'dil show up. But the innocence, that free, open, trusting innocence, gone. It doesn't come back the same. And you grieve it, too. You grieve the version of you that used to love without flinching. You grieve the version of you that used to believe words. You grieve the version of you that didn't have to read between every line. And you don't even talk about that grief, because it sounds dramatic to people who haven't lived it. They'll tell you to move on. They'll tell you to let it go. They'll tell you everything happens for a reason. You just stare at them like you have no idea what you're saying right now, because what happened to you wasn't some cute lesson. It was a violation. It was somebody taking your trust and treating it like a joke. It was somebody making you doubt your own instincts. It was somebody watching you bleed and calling it sensitive. It was somebody turning your love into a weapon against you. That's not growth. That's trauma. That's the kind of thing that rewires your brain. That's the kind of thing that changes how you hear silence, how you read tone, how you interpret distance. That's why you're different, and people love to act like you're the problem for protecting yourself. Like boundaries are toxic, like self-respect is rude, like peace is arrogant. Nah, you're just not desperate anymore, and that's the upgrade. That's the part they can't stand, because desperation makes you controllable. Desperation makes you chase. Desperation makes you settle, and you don't settle anymore. You'd rather be alone than feel that kind of evil again. You'd rather sit in silence than sit next to someone who makes you feel crazy for being human. You'd rather lose people than lose yourself. And there was a time you couldn't say that. There was a time you'd rather lose yourself than lose them. That's how deep it went. You were the one apologizing when you didn't do anything. The one over-explaining when they weren't listening. The one carrying the relationship on your back while they walked beside you like it was nothing. You were doing CPR on something that was already dead, and you were blaming yourself for being tired. That's the evil part, too. Evil makes you feel guilty for having limits. It makes you feel wrong for needing love, wrong for needing respect, wrong for needing honesty. It makes you feel like asking for the bare minimum is too much. And you swallowed that for way too long, until one day you didn't. One day you woke up and your chest felt different, less heavy, less begging, more blank. And blank is scary at first, because you're used to feeling everything. You're used to being the emotional one. You're used to being the one who cares the most. Blank feels like losing yourself. But it's not losing yourself. It's your nervous system finally shutting the door. It's your soul putting up a wall. It's your mind saying, enough. And once that happens, you don't go back, because you realize something nobody teaches you. Being too kind doesn't make you safe. It makes you edible. People chew on you. They test you. They push you. They see how much you'll tolerate. And you tolerated too much. Not because you were weak, because you were loving, because you saw potential, because you didn't want to be like the cold world you grew up in. You wanted to be the exception. You wanted to be the good thing that didn't disappear. And you were. You were the good thing. You were the person who checked in, who remembered birthdays, who held it down, who stayed loyal even when it was inconvenient. You were the one who tried, and they still did you dirty. And you had to live with that. You had to live with the fact that doing the right thing doesn't protect you from evil people. That realization is a spiritual punch in the throat. It makes you question everything. It makes you question love, friendship, family, loyalty, trust. It makes you look at the world like it's wearing a mask.